Hi, I'm Roso, popularly known from the hit singles such as Scream Comp, Rap Babble, and Assassin's Pro 98. I've been bee-hopping or bunny-hopping ever since I got my first computer. From watching surf commentaries to even drinking my first beer, this random corner of the internet dedicated to obscure forms of movement has been a constant in my life. And today, I would like to explore my experiences and the history of bee-hop.
Hop, hop, hop like a bunny doing. Hop, hop, hop like they always do. Hop, hop, hop like a bunny doing. Hop, hoppity hop.
Anyway, the year is 1996. Doom and other first-person shooters are making their waves over the gaming industry. But we needed more. Just so happens id Software had finished development of their groundbreaking new engine, Netquake, an engine aimed at mimicking real-life physics. Little did id Software know, this game engine would spawn one of the most iconic gaming techniques of all time. Quake was a speedrunner's wet dream, containing some of the first real 3D environments and the most complex movement system at the time. Players were quick to find the fastest routes and techniques for better times, and discover something that let them go faster: bunny hopping. While turning in Quake, you get a slight speed boost. Chaining these speed boosts while jumping to minimize ground friction, you could gain momentum while moving through the air. You could also combine this with the rocket launcher, letting you propel yourself at Mach fuck and literally blast through the game. Unfortunately, the developers realized this was not their intention. So, with the release of Quake 2, air acceleration was removed, aka the thing that let you build momentum while turning in the air, bringing an end to bee-hopping for future Quake releases. But that's okay, because we would soon have another game take its place. Before getting into that, I just want to stress how amazing the Netquake engine was, especially for its time. It's still adored to this day. In fact, there's even some groups that hold game jams creating maps for Quake, like the Brutalist Game Jam 3, which was released in January of 2026. That's this year! The map editor was so revolutionary that even today people are still making maps for it out of nothing but passion. I mean, just look at this shit. It's fucking beautiful. It's crazy that something so old can still be so alive. Truly a testament to its influence. Our next stepping stone for bee-hop was someone turned off the lights. Where'd my shirt go? Excuse me. Half-Life, published by Valve and released at the tail end of 1998. This game was built on Gold Source, a heavily modified Netquake engine. Bee-hopping was as prevalent as ever in this Black Mesa facility. Featuring a substantial campaign and diverse environments, players put their movement skills to the test and began speedrunning, even figuring out new techniques such as wall strafing, ladder strafes, water boosting, and sharking. But those are just more examples of players abusing random quirks in order to gain speed. Some techniques discovered in Half-Life are still used on KZ to this day. What's KZ? Well, our next game will introduce us. Counter-Strike 1.6 originally started as a mod for Half-Life before being bought out by Valve, even hiring the developers of the mod to work on the official title. Released in 2000, players went crazy with designing maps, bee-hopping, and enjoying another outstanding game. Two players are particularly noteworthy in all this buzz: Marione and Creeds. These players both contributed something monumental to the movement community. Enter Marione, a passionate Counter-Strike player, map maker, and bunny hopper. Marione started his journey by posting epic jump clips to YouTube, soon after dipping his toes into map creation and making a map named KA Killbox, a huge knife arena for him and his friends. Marione would discover something legendary by falling off the roof of this building. He could almost make the jump to this ladder, and with a few more tries, Marione learned how to surf. If he angled his camera correctly while counter-strafing, he could control the fall and make the jump. Using his movement know-how and skills with the map editor, Marion began experimenting with the first surf maps, his first being titled Surf the Gap, one long ramp ending with a jump to a floating button. Successfully hitting this button would kill everyone on the map, ending the game. He'd keep improving this idea, eventually hosting it on a standalone server, joining frequently to help new players understand the idea, and the idea took off. Other players quickly followed his footsteps and created their own surf maps, even making new surf game modes, such as Combat Surf, big arenas filled with looping ramps in order to create a giant flying deathmatch. Surf was such a beloved concept that it's still being played by thousands of players each day. So, Marion discovered Surf, the biggest movement game mode since b-hopping. What was Creeds responsible for? Creeds is KZ. He was another dedicated movement player who even opted into the Counter-Strike beta, creating maps as soon as the game was released. On July 1st, 2001, Creeds would publish his first map, titled KZ Haunted House V1. Featuring some jumps, a pool, houses, this map was average for the time, but it still marked the beginning of development for Creeds, as he would continue making maps. Our next example is KZ Giant Bean, a towering beanstalk with ledges, jumps, and vines to scour about. Featured at the start of this monumental climb is a timer. This simple addition was groundbreaking, as players could now compete against each other in KZ. KZ became the ultimate game mode for movement, combining aspects of surf, b-hop, and everything else players had learned. The community continued developing this game mode without Creeds, and KZ became the official name of this new competitive game mode. KZ's popularity would give rise to yet another game mode called H&S, or Hide and Seek, where seekers would have knives and chase the hiders, who could run, surf, b-hop, and abuse other random mechanics to escape. This game mode blended the skill of movement and the entertainment of what's basically tag effortlessly. This created an absolute clip farm of a game mode, which was a major factor in Counter-Strike's growing popularity. But what comes next? Half-Life 2. The successor to Half-Life, people were excited to b-hop on a new source engine, but they ran into a problem. Trying to b-hop normally, the game would push the player back, preventing them from gaining speed. But no self-respecting b-hopper would let that be the end of it, so players found a workaround. By b-hopping while facing behind you, the game still pushes you backwards, meaning you'd actually get boosted. And not only that, the boost would scale exponentially. So, the faster you go, the higher the value it applies to slow you, and the faster you keep going. Using this insane speed, players would surf off of slope terrain to gain massive amounts of height while maintaining speed. This style of b-hop was coined ABH, accelerated backwards hopping, which went on to be a major skill for Half-Life 2 speedrunning. On to Counter-Strike Source. Released in 2004, players were used to the cycle of new games being released and players rushing to find bugs. This led to one of the most overpowered techniques in Counter-Strike, crouch boosting. A technique where you follow a pattern with your b-hops guaranteeing you gain speed. Typically, you get slowed when you hit the ground, but players learned if you time your crouch at the right time with the right pattern, you could guarantee to gain speed. This was quickly shared and many players abused this glitch, leading to the creation of Z-Block, a mod for Counter-Strike Source that essentially removed b-hop. This put an end to the era of b-hop. Until a player named Foon uploaded a video titled "Too Much for Z-Block." In this video, Foon is seen landing nearly impossible b-hops, hitting crazy shots on unsuspecting players, and being an absolute speed demon. Players were not ready to bear witness to his greatness, especially since this was after the installation of Z-Block, what was thought to be an immovable barrier preventing b-hopping. Foon was already known at the time, but this video would quickly become the most iconic Counter-Strike video of all time, with commenters calling cheats, some saying it was luck, and others going as far as recreating his jumps to prove they were possible. But Foon wasn't the only popular YouTuber at the time. Another player named LolU began posting compilations to YouTube. These compilations were filled with movement oddities, including flash boosting and run boosting. Run boosting is running on top of another player's head and jumping to combine speed, while flash boosting is throwing a flash grenade at your teammates' feet to boost them into the sky. These techniques gave birth to yet another game mode, Tricks. Tricks is a cooperative KZ-style game mode centered on flash boosting. Unfortunately, Tricks has died out due to the extreme difficulty and needing another player, but there are clips of LolU and others doing this in real matches, getting into nearly impossible spots to surprise unsuspecting players. Counter-Strike's source was extraordinary. It's hard to believe anything could live up to its reputation, let alone exceed it. Yet here we are, finally delving into Counter-Strike Global Offensive, one of my personal favorite games and largest influences through my life. It's an honor to share some of its history with you all. Released in 2012, CSGO is where Counter-Strike became fully mainstream, and by proxy Bhop. This popularity was for many reasons, but let's focus on the variety of content creators CSGO had. A familiar name, LolU, jumped on to CSGO's release and continued making Bhop content, even becoming the first Bhop YouTuber to reach 100,000 subscribers. Unfortunately, LolU got sick and stepped away from YouTube for his health. This left a hole in the Bhop community, which wouldn't take long for other creators to fill. One of these creators being Zune, who used his crazy Bhop clips to bait players into thinking he was cheating. Except he actually was cheating. Looking back into his history, Zune had made YouTube videos before. Some of these videos were literally tutorials to install cheats.
Yo, what's going on guys, Zun here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to paste your own cheat.
He was exposed multiple times for using Bhop cheats in newer videos. Even though people knew he was cheating, his subscribers never took a substantial hit, and he continued making videos up until last year. This era was also the beginning of Counter-Strike Surf YouTubers. Some channels were born on Surf servers. People like Swagger Souls, iNotorious, and Zuckles met each other trolling and rapping on Surf servers. These people would later go on to form a content group named The Misfits, which have their own detailed history. Though that group was my biggest influence for getting into Counter-Strike. There were other YouTubers like Leafy's here who used background gameplay of Surf and would talk about other topics. The amount of culture and events spawned from Surf servers at this point was insurmountable. Surf was basically as popular as the actual game, and with this popularity, people began experimenting, finding new bugs. There was pixel surfing, edge bugs, Flash Boost 2.0, and CSGO became another playground for the movement community. Many players would have their time in the spotlight, from world record holders in movement game modes to random shitpost YouTubers like Franz J. CSGO fame was at an all-time high. How I wish it could have lasted. CS2 had been the center point of controversy for a long time. The game was announced with the brand new Source 2 engine, a wonderful system that removed some limitations of the previous engine, while boasting extremely beautiful lighting and rendering advancements. But there were some major problems. The launch of CS2 was rushed, and the game was missing crucial parts from Counter-Strike Global Offensive, namely the Battle Royale mode Danger Zone, the War game modes, and even gutting support for community servers, which had been the staple of Source movement for over 2 decades. And to make it worse, the transition to CS2 was necessary. Official server support for CSGO would end with the launch of the game. People were outraged, and the game being so barren was just salt in the wound. Many movement bugs were removed. There were missing maps and players complaining about the hit registration with this new sub-tick system. All in all, it was a devastating loss for Counter-Strike players, and the recovery of the player base has been slow. Valve added basic community server support, some new maps, and one of the game modes returned, but it's still just a shell of itself. Such a disappointment. I stopped Bhopping for over a year when CSGO servers went down, and it was devastating to lose all that progress and community. But fortunately, this would not be the end for Bhop. So, where are we today? Bhopping is still around, even if the main game for it is partially deceased. Some players continue playing on CS2 servers, and they've worked out some of the kinks they had on launch, like the ramp bugs, remaking plugins, and porting a larger map pool. Even with these additions from the community, all movement game modes have severely fallen off on CS2. It's still enjoyable, mostly if you have no prior bias to Bhop, but personally, I can't shake the feeling of unease when I get on an empty CS2 server. So, are there any other options? Surprisingly, more so than ever. Bhopping had already been spawning standalone games such as Hot Lava and the endless mobile ripoffs, but these weren't true Bhop experiences, no. That's best left to something like Momentum Mod. Momentum Mod's first playtest was in 2020, and the game has only been improving since then. It aimed to recreate the movement of Half-Life, modern CSGO, and everything in between. Compiling lists of popular Bhop and Surf maps, different game modes, and everything the community adores. This game is truly a passion project, and you can tell the creators thoroughly enjoy the different eras of Bhop. Another good option is just hopping back on Counter-Strike's source servers, which are still up and surprisingly active. I've met a lot of friendly people here, and I enjoy the community. Source movement has spread far and wide, from servers popping up on almost every Valve game to less known recreations like Surf's Up, and even Roblox's Bhop and Surf, all of which have a small but dedicated community. I even found a Care Bear Party Adventure source mod that includes bhopping as a main mechanic. This game was actually pretty fun and completely free, so if you have the time, check it out. Same with Momentum Mod. It's hard to neatly wrap up all of Bhop history, and honestly, I've only really scratched the surface with this stuff. There's countless influential players, events, clips, maps, etc. that make up the art that is Bhop. Thank you for listening to my experiences with Bhop. I'm grateful to know there are thousands of other passionate players dedicated to this beloved concept. I'd like to give a special thanks to my friend Isaac for hosting a presentation night, as I never would have done anything like this without him. I would also like to give a special thanks to my friend Mimo for his invaluable contributions to the bits. I never would have been able to do something like this without my friends, so again, thank you. Roso, out.